Okay, my friends, time for another video. This particular video, I want to show you a way that you can work on your abdominal strength and work on your abs a little bit while you're standing up. Most abdominal work has to do with either hanging from a bar and lifting your legs or doing something like that, or it has to be like sit-ups or the ab rollers or those kind of things. Here's a way that you can work on your abs while you're standing up that hopefully has a little bit of function. And it also leads up to a full-on Qigong exercise if you want to do it as such. I will show you several stages of this, from the very easiest, most basic, to something a little more complicated. If you try to do this exercise on your own, please be very careful and consult a medical professional if you have any doubts about your back or your ability to do this without injury. It's fairly easy to do without hurting yourself, but it is possible if you have some sort of condition in your back that this might not be so great. So proceed with caution and at your own risk, which is true of all exercise in my book. Okay, so I'm going to give you a side view here. So I'm going to be in a back stance, which means my weight is 100% back, my front foot is empty, right? And my front foot is such that if I take it straight back, it comes right behind the heel of my back foot. It's not over in front of it. So if I took it back, it would bonk the foot. It's in front so that if I slide it, it goes beside it. A cat stance, it's sometimes called. Back stance, like stork cools wings or raise hands or one of those kind of movements. So I'm in this back stance, and I'm just going to put my hands on my belly. And I'm going to bounce a couple times into my thigh. I love the bounce. It's one of my favorite exercises. Really works the thigh. Make sure that your knee is pointing right down the middle of your foot and it isn't out past your toes. It's back a little bit. The bounce is into the hip joint that way. My knee goes forward, but just a tiny bit. So if this is my thigh and this is my shin angle doesn't change so much as my thigh angle changes, and that causes the shin angle to change a little bit, right? So that's the bounce. See my video called The Bounce and you'll get more instruction on that. So I'm going to settle into that leg. So my leg is really engaged here, and I'm going to cup my hands just below the belly there, and all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to lean backwards like that. I'm leaning back. Now what I'm not doing, and what it may look like I am doing, but what I'm not doing is I am not arching my back. So from here I'm not arching my back like this. That is actually painful. Back arches are terrific, but not in this position. If you're interested in back bends or back arching, see yoga. It's particularly Iyengar yoga. They have great instruction in how to arch back. But this is not arching back. This is leaning back. I'm actually thinking of the opposite. I'm thinking of my chest and the front of my body being concave rather than convex. I'm thinking of pressure going into my body this way. So I'm collapsing my chest a little bit, settling into my leg, and just leaning backwards from the hips here. Every inch I go back is bought by this leg strength here and my abs here. You'll feel your own abs like this is strong in this position, and then back up again. Okay, I'm going to switch legs. So now I'm over my other leg, my left leg, and this again slides right past that. So I first bounce a little bit to engage my left leg a little, right? So that thigh is engaged and strong. I sit into it, and then I just lean back. I collapse my chest a little. So when you're leaning back like this, you should feel like everything's free, your arms are free, this leg is free, this leg is not, the abs are not. If you can't talk properly, you're probably arching back and your head's going back there. So remember, it's like you're a cobra hood. You know how a cobra the head's forward, but the hood is kind of behind the head? It's kind of like that. So it's sitting into that leg, engaging that thigh, and then just leaning back. Notice my heel's off the ground here. So I'm still looking forward. I'm trying not to look way up in the air. I'm looking forward. But I have this collapsed feeling in the upper chest, abs working like crazy, leg working like crazy. There. So that is a simple, basic thing that you can incorporate into your practice if you want, that'll work your abs, work your leg kind of in concert together without getting on the ground. So you get a little bit of a bounce, and then you lean back. Like you're leaning in a rocking chair, right? Your throat doesn't get tight when you lean back in a rocking chair because you're not arching over the chair. That feels terrible. Collapse this so that all the work is here and here. Everything else, this is all free. This is working, this is working. This and this, right? So that's just a way to pour your weight into your leg and also lean back and work on your abs. Now, there's a Qigong exercise that incorporates this kind of feeling and idea, and it's called Fox Fairy Bays at the Moon. The fox fairy is kind of a mischievous, slightly malevolent Chinese leprechaun-like creature. There's all kinds of stories about people getting into trouble for accidentally disrespecting the fox fairy shrine. I'm not sure what fox fairies really are, why they bay at the moon, but apparently they do. So when you do the fox fairy bays at the moon, you start on your front leg. Your arms are just relaxed. Your head is looking down at your foot. You step back, toe, heel, and all your weight's on your back leg. And again, my front leg would slide behind my heel if I slid it straight back. Now when you see this, the arms come up as I look forward, and then my heel comes up and I tilt back and then release the hands, right? You see the circle, right? This circle. But don't get caught up in your hands if you want to do that. The circle of your hands are making, that circle is powered by 3 different things, none of which is your hands or your arms. So, when I first come up, it's my back straightening up that brings my hands up to about here. From here, the circle is powered by my tilt, and I'm tucking my hips, and my head is free, my throat is free, and then here it's powered by gravity, right? So it just drops back like that, chest down, abs working, and then when you come forward, you just let your hands go down, and you're back over that front leg. And then you can just switch to the other leg. Now my weight's on my right leg. My left toe goes back. Now my heel. Check to make sure my foot's in front of air, not in front of my foot. So from the back position, my back straightening brings my hands up. My hip tuck and my tilt brings them higher. And then I just release with gravity. And when I put that all together and let those 3 positions kind of overlap just slightly, it ends up looking like this. Now some people like to do this one with a much bigger flourish and look way back. My goals are really close to the ground. This exercise can be done a lot of different ways. There are people who really believe in Qi and some of the Chinese medical principles, and so they do reverse breathing. So here they're inhaling and they're into the back, into the space between the shoulder blades, and then they're exhaling and expanding the lower belly, like actually pushing out as they exhale here. I don't really do a lot of reverse breathing. I'm a little skeptical about its value as far as the abdominal wall goes. It seems to me like a good way to get a hernia. So it's not my thing, but I don't knock it. If people want to do it, that's their business. And you can think of various energetic things that you're doing there. I think of this really functionally. My goals are pretty close to the ground. They're not that lofty. My goals are things like I want to be able to lean back if someone's swinging from my face, or if something happens to be moving through my head plane here. I want to be able to lean back without collapse, without arching, without damage. I want to be able to do that with my hands and leg free, but I'm leaning back. I want to be able to lean back like that and something goes by, right? I want to be able to take pressure into my body and bring it down into my leg and back if I need to go back for some reason without falling over. So I'm really thinking of this as a way to pour weight into my leg, use my abs, and let the rest of my body relax into the final position. So You can play with many different versions of this, but I'm a big believer in simple physics and simple mechanics and strengthening the muscles and putting them, on dimmer switches and just making muscle activation by the nervous system, my intent and my nervous system and my muscles and bones being in smooth, relaxed, comfortable connection and communication. So it is, more than enough to get work in the leg and just tilt back and just work your abs and legs, just hang out there. You could even do punches there in case you wanted to practice moving back and still having the capacity to punch. The other more esoteric versions of it you may explore and find more information about. The exercise is called Fox Fairy Bays at the Moon. I learned it from Andy Dale, who learned it from Chung Da Chen. And I don't know where it came from or if there's other versions of it, but there very well may be. So that's a way that I like to work on my abs while I'm standing up, and it gives me some functional ability to. You do this in sword play a lot. The sword's coming right at your throat. Whoa! I like to be able to lean back without hurting myself. I really appreciate that ability. So this really helps me to do that. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Always nice to hear your comments, particularly if this stuff is helpful, because that's why I make the videos. I don't make a lot of money from this channel. I don't have ads on my videos. Had mixed feelings about them anyway, but I don't have the kind of channel that gets the kind of views and attention that would generate a lot of income for advertisers anyway. So I'm actually happy to not have ads. I do have a tip jar at the bottom of my videos in my descriptions, and I have tip jars at my website, and I always appreciate a tip, but it's not necessary or expected. I mainly do this to be helpful. So always nice to hear that anything I've done has been helpful. So let me know if it is. And otherwise, have a great day, and good luck with your practice.